and so I celebrate every time we get a championship or every time we get
Yeah.
anything like that. I've been through so many of the different times that I just want to celebrate it these days. I don't want to sit and find all my time complaining. It's just
Yep.
like I find so much more time and fun, and just even watching the last few seasons, it's been a lot more stressless.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
Less stressless. How about
doubt.
yourself? Do you still watch and everything?
Yeah, I watch. Yeah, I don't really. Obviously, I played for a few teams. I played for Minnesota for 9 years, Washington for 2, and Tampa for 4, and Dallas for 2. But man, I don't really pull for teams. I really just kind of want to see good football. To be honest with you, I like seeing situations. I like to see how the games change. I like to see just different players play. And so I just, anytime it's on Sundays, Mondays, now it's Thursdays and Saturdays too. You know what I mean? So, but I watch all kinds of football. I got 2 boys. My wife, Nikki, and I have 2 boys that play football now at North Carolina. One's a quarterback, one's a tight end, Max and Jake. And so I watch college football, watch pro football, just like every
LSU,
other
right?
fan. No, he's at North Carolina. Right? Both
North
of them
Carolina.
at North Carolina.
Okay, so it
Yep.
was okay. So it was okay. So
Yeah.
it's different now. Okay.
Yep. So, but I enjoy watching all the football and keeping up with it.
That's
Whatever
awesome.
comes up with it. You know what I mean? So
what part of the new parts of the game, and cause you were kind of that prototypical style, you know what I mean? That for those that you guys don't know, the prototypical style was like a style quarterback back in the day where you kind of, they didn't really look at you if you weren't tall enough, if you weren't big enough, they didn't think you were durable enough, and they just really nitpicked. And so they had this thing called a prototypical quarterback, which was a dude that you could just plug into your system and he could stand back there and deliver it in the threat of the big guys coming down on him and make the big throws for you. And so that's what Brad was. It was a round that we don't even have anymore. Would it have been 9th? Is that what?
Yeah, I was the 9th round, 227th pick of the 1992 draft. There were I was the 14th quarterback in my draft class, and so I was a late bloomer. I didn't play much in college, so that's probably why I got drafted so late. But a lot of times you're drafted on potential, and then eventually it's on your performance. And so the game has changed. At that time, the prototypical quarterback was the guy what kind of got me really going is like 1986, 87 was the guy named Vinny Testaverde. He was 6'5", 225 at the time, won a Heisman, athletic quarterback, ended up playing 22 years in the league. And then another guy I kind of watched myself at that time was a guy named Phil Simms, who won the Super Bowl 21 with the New York Giants. They beat the great John Elway Denver Broncos. So, but back in the day, I was the last quarterback that ever took every snap from underneath center. And now, that was in 2003 with John Gruden when we won the Super Bowl. Other than that, you won't find many quarterbacks even in high school that take a snap unless they're in a wing T system. So kids nowadays, they start playing from shotgun and all that kind of stuff, and pee-wee football and middle school football, and the game has changed. Back when I played, it was really just you call a play, double right, scat right, double smash. You know what I mean? And then the game kind of changed where you would actually call 2 plays in the huddle. You call I right, 40 ISO, act 4, 585. And if you get up to the line of scrimmage, you might use a double cadence. You might kill, depending on, if it's an 8-man box or 7-man box. And then it got to be where, you called 2 plays in the huddle. Then it got to be where you could change the play. But then all these defenses started changing their disguises too.
So you were there before audibles?
There wasn't many audibles when we first came in. It was maybe opposite. So you might call a run play to the right, and then you might go kill, or opposite, and then the plays run to the other side. And then the way the game's gone now, I mean, it's a lot of times they don't even call a play in the huddle. You just kind of look to the sidelines because they don't huddle, and then you look at it, and then the guy will give you a signal, and then then they put in the RPO system here a few years back, and then so you kind of got different styles of quarterbacks, different styles of play, and the game has changed from the quarterback standpoint. They used to could, clothesline the quarterback. You could take him out pretty much. But Now they've done a better job protecting the quarterbacks, better job of protecting receivers. Can't quite hit them and hold like you used to. So the stats have
Yeah,
changed over time.
that's
It's really
different.
hard to compare eras, to be honest with you. And
Yeah,
but the game's changed, but it's changed at all levels. And guys are able to play multiple positions on offense and
that's got to be a
defense.
relief though for
So
as a
it's
dad though with your kids playing ball though a little bit
yeah,
a little bit less of that physicality going into it.
yeah.
Or
You
how
hope
do you
so.
feel, I guess,
Yeah,
about that? You know what I mean? As a father, do you like that, or is that kind of a relief or kind of a cool thing?
yeah,
Like, because I know for me, it's like, I really like players, and I know it was hard to watch some of the transitions for a lot of people,
yeah,
and up in northern Minnesota, you get a lot of grumpy people that are just like, oh, it was always better. And it's like, well,
right,
I
right.
kind of wouldn't mind seeing him, seeing him last for a little bit.
Yeah, I
Those
mean,
hits
yeah,
got brutal back then.
yeah, no doubt. I mean, you want safety for all players. You know what I mean? In whatever sport it is, you want safety. You want the rules to be changed. And sometimes, um, you're going to have defensive linemen. They're going to complain they can't hit the quarterback like they used to. You know what I'm saying? And well, I mean, taking guys' knees out is not a good thing. You know what I mean?
No,
So,
no, no.
and late hits and those kind of things. And so, but the rules have been changed for the good of the game, for good of the players, hopefully, and the equipment's changed too. And not just equipment, but the nutrition's changed. The way they actually run 2-a-day practices now they don't. We do 2-a-days for 5 weeks,
You guys
and
do
now they
much diet stuff back then?
I mean, you'd kind of watch it, but it
Like,
wasn't.
how they're
It
now,
wasn't.
they're really like, you
Yeah,
know what I mean? They got
yeah,
a dietitian at home, they got a cook, they got a personal chef. At
yeah,
least
yeah. No
some of them
doubt,
do. Some that take
no
it
doubt.
seriously, I've seen.
Yeah, and a lot of times you'll see guys wear like heart rate monitors on them that'll calculate not only the heart rate, but how fast they actually run, uh, how far do they run during the course of the day, the pounding that it takes. Like so, there's great. They're doing a better job of documenting things over time. That way, you can kind of document how hard you're practicing and in practice, how much how much volume you've done in practice, and sometimes you might need to add more. Sometimes you need to back off, and so things like that. But they've done a great job from trainers and uh, strength coaches, dietitians, and then the league itself has done a better job of just trying to protect the kids in high school and college, and definitely the pros.
Yeah, I like it. I definitely I think that it was they, like you were saying, like as a person develops too, tracking all that stuff, you could really, I mean, the next level players that are coming, it's almost like they're younger and younger coming right out of college. I see it more and more. And I like, even last year watching with Anthony Richardson and stuff, I was like really surprised with just how, he went from just not playing a ton to just all the way in there, and then really good
Right.
before he got injured and everything in that NFL system. Whereas, now, and it's like you're saying, it's a little bit different, taking the balls under center back then and everything, and how they used to do the programs where you would sit and you would develop in the NFL.
Well, I got a couple thoughts on that. One, I think kids are playing at an earlier age, and whether it's in middle school, they're doing year-round camps, they're doing year-round events. They're used to throwing the ball at a high level, understanding coverages even at a middle school level. And then high schools have gotten to where they're throwing the ball all over the yard, but you're doing it year-round. Um, when I played, we didn't have spring practice. Now that everybody has spring practice, and then the jamborees, and just like it seemed like it never stops. So I think guys are more advanced at an earlier age. But I do think there's a rite of passage too, where you kind of got to earn your way. So sometimes, um, back in college, we used to be redshirted. You kind of get an extra year or two. Now if kids don't play in the first year, they're trying to transfer right away because they're not playing, those kind of things, and you try to set yourself up. And then even in the NFL, like when you really look at all the Super Bowl champions, not all of them, but a lot of them: Tom Brady, Kurt Warner, myself, Brett Favre, Jim McMahon, Steve Young, Joe
Oh, these guys are my
Montana,
favorites too.
a lot of these guys, Aaron Rodgers, Eli Manning, like they sat. And
Yeah,
whether it's 4-6 weeks, Carson Palmer, I think he sat for a year and a half. Michael
yeah,
Vick, he sat for a year. Mahomes, he sat for 15 games. Like, so you
right.
kind of were matured into a system. You got to learn the system a little bit better than just being thrown into the fire. And whether getting hurt, whether playing bad. Some guys have done well, but then over the long haul, I think just the maturity of growing into the position, I think it takes a little time to take it to the next level. So I think we're always in such a rush mode to get these players in early, especially the quarterback position, where I feel like when you should wait till the time is right when they're ready, um, to perform at a high level because expectations are so high nowadays. So, but to each his own. That's up to every organization to figure out how they want to play the quarterbacks and how they want to draft them too.
Sorry, it looks like our TikTok went down. Looks like they don't
Okay.
think we're us. So I have to
Okay.
appeal that one apparently. So
Okay.
looks like that one all shut down, which that's all right. It's just a distraction anyway. But we got the other stuff going. I don't know why they didn't think that, but I don't bother. That's why I can see why you don't bother with them anymore.
Yeah.
It's for me. It's just I get more focused on the YouTube stuff and on the and Twitter, like you said, just dealing with a lot of stuff like that. But yeah, sorry to interrupt you. I don't know why I did that. It's goofy. Yeah. So we kind of lost all their questions and everything, but whatever.
All right.
Sorry about that. But anyway, back to just jamming out, I guess, and hanging out. What was I gonna say? Let's see. I'll go back. Let's go back to the sheet here. Let me see if I got anything cool. I think I was talking about I think I got behind me that touchdown pass to yourself, and everything like that.
Yeah.
I see you still got some Vikings memorabilia, even though you got the Super Bowl with Tampa Bay. You still root for us every now and then.
I spent 9 years of my life for Minnesota Vikings. I was there for 2 stints. I was there for 7 years under Denny Green, and was the head coach, and Brian Billick was my coordinator, and then I was traded to Washington for 2 years, and I went to Tampa for 4. But then I had a chance in free agency. I came back to Minnesota and played for Mike Tice 1 year and Brad Childress. But no, Minnesota was a big part of my life. I was early in my career when I got drafted. I got to play with some great quarterbacks there at the time. Was Rich Gannon and Sean Salisbury and Wade Wilson, Jim McMahon and Warren Moon, and later Randall Cunningham, and then came back and was with Dante Culpepper. And so, but those were some great quarterbacks I played with. But no, Minnesota, man, I felt like it was like my second home actually living up there. I met a lot of good friends out in the yeah, that was awesome. So I enjoyed my time. I got out of Dodge, before it got too cold, when the season was over, usually in January. So I missed
it. Sure does get cold
months.
up here. Oh, yeah.
No doubt.
Sure. Oh,
no
yeah.
Doubt.
Way up in the north, it gets cold where I'm at, boy.
Yeah. No doubt. No doubt. But I loved it up there, though, man. It was awesome.
Well, I'm glad because we're still hoping for that Super Bowl. You know what I mean? And I'm really glad that you were able to go get one, that must have been amazing. That must have been just the pinnacle of pinnacles.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. Man, you got to have. There's only 34 quarterbacks that ever won a Super Bowl, so you kind of got to pinch yourself that you're one of the 34 that have done it. And it takes a lot of great coaches, takes a lot of great players. Felt like I could have been on 4 or 5 teams that had the right ingredients to have won a Super Bowl, and it just didn't happen. And but fortunately, the one year we won it in 2003 with Tampa Bay, we've had 4 guys go on and win, make it to the Hall of Fame. John Lynch, Warren Sapp, Derek Brooks, and Rondé Barber, and had some great coaches on that staff. We had great coaches. We had obviously John Gruden was our head coach, and Monty Kiffin, Rich Bisaccia, and Mike Tomlin, Raheem Morris. But I think about some of those teams we had in Minnesota too. We've had a bunch of guys that went on to make Hall of Fame there too. Randy McDaniel, John Randall, Chris Carter, Randy Moss, Warren Moon. A lot of those guys have made it. You know what I mean? So it just takes to win it. You got to be really, really good, and you got to get hot at the right time. You got to be healthy.
And you guys were hot.
Good luck. Yeah,
I liked your guys' team. I got a lot of guff for that back in the day. There was me and there was another guy in my house. His name, I did ask him beforehand to use on here, as Trevor. I think he has one of the questions later. But him and I used to watch with Mike Allstott, and he just always called him, "You're in good hands. You're in good hands."
Yeah.
Boy, we had some good times watching you, man. And after you left, I feel that kinship when any person comes to Minnesota, that it's like I said, I take that stuff for real. The football is family for real. And it really has always been like that with my family. And it's just like for me, I got to pinch myself that I'm talking with a Super Bowl winning quarterback, Brad Johnson, a guy that has passed passes to some of my favorite players, a guy that is one of my favorite players. Just there's so many things that you kind of, I don't know, I guess it's kind of unreal. But if you just have determination, you just keep going, you keep just, doing what you do, and just be nice to people, be respectful. I guess that would be my biggest thing out there that I see people making mistakes on, as far as anything like that, getting ahead in the world is, being respectful. But anyone that came to Minnesota or has even been a part of the team ever, I always follow them and I respect them, and I appreciate every sacrifice that they made to help try to get us there. And I understand we didn't get there, but I understand, like you said, a lot of these teams could have got there. I mean, like they were really good. They were really good.
Yeah.
I mean,
my first 7 years in Minnesota, we made the playoffs 6 out of 7 years, and just didn't really advance, And the one year we did, actually, the one time we actually really did was '98, and that was the year we went 15-1, and we actually won all 4 preseason games too. Then won the first playoff game, then had the game against Atlanta where we just didn't win, and to go to the Super Bowl, and it had been tough. We had a bunch of guys get hurt in that game, so I'm not sure how they would have done the next week playing against Denver if they'd been healthy enough to play. But it's just you got to pinch yourself. There were so many great players on that team, so many great coaches. Back in the day, Tony Dungy, he was the defense coordinator there for 3 years, and
the magical season.
Tom Moore was there my first year, who went on to, obviously coach Peyton Manning, and then later finished up with Tom Brady, and then had Carson Palmer out there in Arizona, and John Tierlink, and defensive line coach, and Brian Billick, who later went on to win a Super Bowl at Baltimore as a head coach. And so it takes all those great coaches. And later when I came back my second stint, actually, Mike Tomlin was with us as a defense coordinator.
Really?
And then he left and then went on to Pittsburgh. Now he went to a couple Super Bowls, and eventually he'll make Hall of Fame too. So it takes great coaches as much as it does players. It takes both.
Yeah, I that season was the season that not gonna lie, that's the season I really fell in love with Vikings football. I was really young. We would drive. We first trip, from way up north, up in the sticks. You don't take a lot of trips. Small family. You don't have a ton of money. Just regular stuff. But it was our first big long trip, and we drove through Atlanta. And my brother had the Viking stuff, and he's, in Atlanta back then could get dangerous sometimes, and he didn't care at all. He was so loud and proud about it. And I remember I was such a, I looked up to my, my brother too so much, so I was way into it. And all those games, we just loved it. It's so many memories in my life of that season of yours. It was a real magical season. For those of you guys that don't know, them guys had the perfect season, pretty much, as they kind of call it. And then, it was so wild. They were making t-shirts like that we had already won or something. It was just the wildest thing. I remember they had a recall. It was one of those things that you just wouldn't think would happen. And for those of you that don't remember, this is 1998. For those of you that remember the Gary Anderson kick, that's the end of that season. So the Gary Anderson, it
was a great year. It was a great year. That was the year we drafted Randy Moss.
Right.
And he really changed the way other teams played defenses. He changed the way the other organizations drafted, because they started drafting more corners, more safeties. And he was a guy that really could everybody remembers him. He could just throw up his hand and he would go right by people. A lot of times, I remember one time he told me, he said, "I'm never running full speed. I'm setting them up unless Deion Sanders, Dale Carter, or Darryl Green is covering him." And he said, "Just always throw as far as you can, and he'll go get it." You know what I mean? So he was that guy. And I threw him his first 2 touchdown passes. Was actually, you there?
Yeah.
You still got me? Okay.
Just about. Yeah. There you go. Got you back.
Yeah, me. Yeah, sorry about that. And
No worries.
I threw him his first 2 touchdown passes, and his first one was it's called change right, speed right bomb, and basically he's on the backside, single receiver. He kind of ran like a fake square in, and then took it up on the go. And I rolled out to the right, threw as far as I could. And then the next one was a play called train right, jet right, 748 wide shallow, and I hit him on a post route. But he man for we would always watch him when he was at the University of Marshall, and he won the Fred Blitmakoff Award there for the receiver of the year, and just an incredible athlete. I think he won a state championship or 2 in basketball in high school too. And but when he came there, obviously with with Jake Reed at the X receiver and Chris Carter in the slot, and then it was really phenomenal. And then you had Robert Smith and Leroy Horde in the backfield, and then offensive line was Jeff Christie and Dave Dixon and Randall McDaniel and Todd Stussy and Corey Stringer. Like it was just I think that year, I think the team, we had like 11 guys make the Pro Bowl. So
it's a special team.
Pretty incredible.
I remember all those. Yeah, I remember all those players and a lot of those moments. And for those guys that don't remember those players, go look them up for sure. They're the best. They're awesome.
And and honestly, what people don't realize, the defense that year had 6 touchdowns also off of interceptions or fumbles, and so it's just a total. It was a great team that just didn't win the final game, but the year there that happened it was special.
It was amazing. I know a lot of people criticize the defense there, but it takes it's hard to be perfect. It's like no one's going to be perfect, and so I think criticizing on a team that went 15-1 is pretty hard to do.
Our defense was great that year. They played great. They were outstanding.
And I remember Denny Green would say always about Moss. He would always be like, "That's true. That's true 4-3 speed. That's true 4-3 speed. That's for that right there. That right there." And I think what he meant by that is with the pads, you slap everything on there, and he's still cooking. He's still ripping.
And kind of what you forget, he was 6'4", so that's 4-3 speed at 6'4", long arms, high jump. And he could catch it over defenders, and later we all kind of say it on Monday Night Football now that you got Moss. So he really would Moss people, like catch it over people's head.
It was
catch
wild.
it one hand or 2 hands.
I felt you guys reinvented offense. Like I felt like that was the start of it, and then what happened a little more reinvented how offense was. There wasn't all these huge bombs down the game. It's sort of like I watch in basketball now, there's like a ton of 3 points, where back in the day it just wasn't like that until Steph Curry kind of came along and changed it. I felt like Randy Moss did that for that deep ball game. It just made it more of a really common thing to do, whereas before it was teams would take a couple shots, but it wasn't that wasn't the playbook.
Yeah, that team. I mean, it was great in all phases, though. It could really. I mean, it had great runners and Leroy Horde and Robert Smith, and then David Palmer. He was there, and then Mo Williams. They were your backups, and then tight ends were Andrew Glover. He caught a bunch of balls, and then the receivers. We could get them on all levels with Jake Reed catching slants or comebacks or square ends, and then Chris Carter was great at the option routes or seams and corner routes and phenomenal in the red zone, and then. Obviously, Randy could do it all. He was a deep ball. He'd break people's back with that deep ball.
That was tough on him. And then, because like you said, you had Carter coming right there, and Carter that was my guy back when I was younger. I always liked, first it was Anthony Carter, then it was Chris Carter, and I was just, I love him so much. And he was doing the toe tap stuff, and I didn't really see much of that bbefore him and stuff. I know a couple people did it, but I didn't see much of it being, back then. We didn't have a bunch TV, everybody. I am a little older than I look. I'm 37, so not super old, but old enough to where we didn't really have any internet or multiple TVs. You just kind of got the local show, and watching them do that stuff for the first times on those shake routes and turning it into something that was just evolved with you. Feeding him that rock. That must have been so cool.
Yeah, I just think when I think of Randy, he was a really, really smart player, great competitor, wasn't afraid of the moment, especially as a rookie coming in and really just tearing up the league, dominating the league. And then when you can beat people at all levels with Chris Carter on the intermediate stuff or option routes, and Jake Reed singled up or catching slants or comebacks, or curls or digs or skinny bang eights, and then Randy could do it all. But all those guys are great
Chris
competitors.
was who I meant on that one.
Chris
Sorry,
Carter, yeah,
Chris was who I
Chris
meant on
Carter's,
that one, not Randy. But yeah,
yeah,
Chris is who I
yeah,
meant
Chris,
on that.
yeah,
He was my favorite.
yeah.
For a while, like, and I was saying that you were the one feeding him on
Yeah,
the
it's
ball.
pretty cool in my career because I actually got to throw Chris Carter I threw Randy Moss's first touchdown pass, and then I threw Chris Carter his 100th touchdown pass. Then also threw Tim Brown his 100th touchdown pass. So it's pretty unique that I kind of get to correlate with all those guys. And then I threw Andre Reed. He was in Washington with me. I threw his last touchdown pass, and then threw Warren Sapp. Threw him his first touchdown pass. So there's a lot of unique things. And then obviously I threw a pass to myself for a touchdown. But so it's kind of unique.
Were you the first to do that, or was there?
Yeah, I was the first one to do that.
You're the first one to do that. You're the original.
97. Yeah, then Marcus Mariota came back.
I know a lot of people. Yeah, a lot of people think of Marcus, but I'm like, nope. Hey, nope. There was a guy. His name was Brad Johnson.
Yeah, Johnson. It was a touchdown pass to myself. I won an SP award for Play of the Year, and we said it counted 12 points. The
brand too.
Yeah,
I think people would do that too because there used to be these commercials and people used to say Johnson and Johnson, and then that became a little thing people would say about that play. I forgot about that till now.
Yeah. So it's a cool play. First time to have ever done it. It ever happened. We didn't know what it was at the time until later. And then obviously Marcus Mariota did it probably 20 years later. So it's only happened twice. A lot of times as a quarterback, when that play happens, you want to bat the ball down because if you catch it, you probably will lose yardage or it gets intercepted. And then I knew when that happened, we were actually in field goal range because the ball was on the 3-yard line. So if I caught it, I'd be okay. We'd still be able to kick a field goal. I knew, but sometimes
you shook that guy. You burnt him.
Yeah. I put him on a joystick.
You really did.
Yeah. So, and then I kind of dove into the end zone, and
it was fun. And then the celebration. That's why I had some of the stuff too. I was wondering. I was going to ask. Well, I have a question actually. Think about it. Did you change celebrations midway through? Because you went real low there, and it looked like you thought about something, and then you just did the monster spike.
Well, it's called the ass wipe, is what it's called.
Oh, that's what you were doing. Okay, I wasn't sure. Okay, now I know.
Now you'll get it.
Now I know. That's awesome. The more you know. And Johnson and Johnson.
There you go.
Perfect. Oh, that is so perfect with the whole thing. That's awesome. And that's so good. And like I said, I thank you again for coming on and laughing and hanging out and stuff. And I know that you did all those years with the Vikings, and I know that I'm a Vikings guy, but I definitely want to talk about some of the stuff you did winning that Super Bowl over there and everything down in Tampa. And I think you're still in that time zone and area. And I don't really give anyone's location out or nothing, but in that time zone and stuff, and just what'd you think down there and everything with Gruden and it's just the whole process and just the switch and then going from that to winning it all and stuff.
Yeah. When I went down there, it was Tony Dungy was the head coach. I knew him from Minnesota. He'd been the defense coordinator 3 years there. Then I played against him a bunch when I was in Minnesota and Washington. And but I also knew a lot of the players. Obviously, Derrick Brooks and
like you said, so many Hall of Famers and greats on there.
Yeah, and John Lynch was my roommate down there for 3 years on the road. But I thought it was just a great matchup, my style of play, and then they let Tony Dungy go, and then he actually went to the Colts and won a Super Bowl there with Peyton Manning, and then made the Hall of Fame. And then John Gruden came in and made a bunch of moves in free agency. He brought in Keenan McCardell, who's now the receivers coach at Minnesota, and then Joe Jaravicius. And
for those of you that don't know, McCardell was a baller back in the day, man. Dude,
he's great hands. He could have been a potential Hall of Famer too, And but now he's a great coach. Been in the league for a long time coaching, but great with the wide receivers there at Minnesota. And then Ricky Dudley and Ken Dilger are tight ends, and Michael Pittman and Ricky. Robin Oben, our left tackle, and Kerry Jenkins, our left guard. So we made a bunch of moves in free agency. And then, to win it all, you got to have everything kind of go right, but you got to have great in all phases. We had one of the best defenses of all time. And then it was a lot to learn in Gruden's system the first year, like a lot of information, a lot of audibles, a lot of checks, a lot of shifts, emotions. And it took us a while, but if you look back, about the 7th or 8th game of the season, we were one of the hottest offenses in the league. We didn't get talked about a lot, but we were averaging over 28 points a game on offense. So it was just a well-rounded team, and
Well,
we didn't turn
I
the ball over either. Yeah. So,
well, I suppose that was probably different because the divisions were
yeah,
different then too. So
yeah,
you know what I mean? I guess.
yeah.
Were they still different then, or
They had changed at that time,
did they just change?
yeah, for Tampa that year, the division was Saints, New Orleans Saints, the Carolina Panthers, and Atlanta Falcons, and Tampa. Then Minnesota at that time was Minnesota, Green Bay, Chicago, and Detroit.
And
So
that
that's
was
how
the
it
year
went
it
down.
changed because Tampa used to
Yeah,
be there, and that's the only reason
yeah,
I remember we used to pay attention to them a lot. And then
yeah,
they did the change, and then you also went down there. So there's a couple reasons, like I said, and then
yeah,
you guys were doing all that winning and stuff with
yeah,
the whole team, and everybody always talks about that great defense and everything. But I think you guys had a great offense. I
yeah,
think you were a
yeah.
great leader of men. I think you're
Yeah,
a
no,
champion.
yeah, no, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. We had a lot of great players on offense with Keyshawn Johnson, all those guys I just
Yeah,
mentioned, and then Mike Allstott. Like, it was very underrated offense that people just don't talk about because our defense was so great, and have had Hall of Famers. But there are a lot of, on offense, we had a lot of guys that made Pro Bowls and those kind of things. And we had a great kicker in Martin Gramatica also, and
yeah,
so it's just
Chromatica.
and great coaches. So it's pretty cool to be a part of. But we got hot at the right time of the year. We were 3-1 every 4 games, and ended up going 12-4. And one of the biggest things that happened to us at the very end of the year was we won our last game against Chicago, and the last game of the season, Green Bay had lost. They lost against I think the Colts, either Jets or Colts. And when they did, they lost home field advantage. So we actually got a bye, which was a big deal. I was coming off a major back injury. I'd missed the couple weeks prior to that. And then so I came back healthy after a bye in the playoffs, and then we beat the Giants in the first round at home for us, and then we went up to Philadelphia, beat the Eagles in the shut down the Vet, the last game that they ever played in the Vet. They were our nemesis. They'd beaten us 3 or 4 straight times before that, and then that was almost like our Super Bowl. And then we went out to got the Raiders. We were hitting on all cylinders when we won that game.
Yeah, that was. I mean, you guys blew them out of the water
Yeah.
in that one. I was looking over the different plays in there, and you had some really great passes, and you get up there, and then I believe it was, if I could be wrong, and then I believe you guys line up in that old formation, like you're saying, right under center, right in the I pistol type formation, and you hand it off to Big Mike Allstott, and he just plowed his way right in there just to start ripping it off. I mean. It was
he scored a
awesome.
touchdown. He scored we called it a blast off to Green Right West, 92 blast. And then Keenan McCardell called a fade stop for a touchdown. And then later, Keenan McCardell caught a little it's called a jerk route over the middle. And then I think Michael Pittman scored. And then our defense, they actually had some interceptions at the very end of the game. And so we scored a lot of different ways. But it was just right time, right place. It was our night,
Had to
pretty
feel good.
cool. And then, yeah, it really was. And I remember, earlier when we were talking, we talked about the prototypical quarterbacks that I kind of want to be like. And one at that time when I was young was Phil Simms. And in 1987, he won the Super Bowl. And that was the first year that they talked about after the game was over, confetti was falling on his face. He said, "I'm going to Disney." And then 16 years later, I'm holding my son Max, who was 2 years old at the time. My wife Nikki was 7.5 months pregnant with the other son Jake, and I'm right there with John Gruden, and confetti was falling on our face, and we're saying we're going to Disney, So dream come true to be a part of something like that. And, Dexter Jackson was the MVP of the game, and so it's just pretty awesome.
It had to have been, and then I suppose it had to have been a relief too. I suppose after you work that hard, and then you get it done, and then you have the hurt back and everything. It must be nice to go home and throw your feet up and go, "Hey, we did it this year.
Yeah,
it actually got done."
Yeah, I mean, no doubt. Every year when the Super Bowl's played, I kind of pinch myself like, man, that was us, a long time ago now, 21 years ago, I guess. But no, to have done it, to say, it's better. They say it's better to be a has-been than never was. and to get the opportunity to play in that game, like you talk about, like a lot of teams they can get there. Like when teams, it's kind of interesting when you talk with people, like people that lost that game, they'll say, "Man, the game's kind of overrated a little bit." It's a big party, a big event that takes place for 2 weeks, the buildup of it. But if you talk to the players that won it, it's one of the greatest days of their life. You know what I mean? So,
I mean, even to me as a fan, it means everything, like everything. And I'm sure you've heard that whole quote from Minnesotans or whatever, just one before I pass. There's so many people out there saying that. I mean, my old man being one of them. And, he didn't get to really see it either, and it's just something we're all still waiting for. And, like
it's going to happen.
I'm happy you got it.
Yeah. No doubt. I appreciate it. I mean, Minnesota they've been to 4 Super Bowls, way back when, and then been to like 3 or 4, maybe 3 NFC championship games. So been right on the brink of it. You know what I mean? So one day they'll knock that wall down and win it. And it'll be an awesome party.
It's going to be all the sweeter.
All the Vikings.
I tell everybody they give up because a lot of people, they'll shut their TV off or they'll get mad. And I tell people, don't do that. If you just can hang on, you'll feel it's like accomplishing something from finish to end. It gives you that feeling of completion so much better, so that the next day when everyone's like, "Oh, I shut it off," you're like, you missed that, that." Especially a couple seasons ago when they had all those comebacks and all that wild stuff. And I do believe that I don't know, man. I think something's coming. I think a dynasty of its own sorts, maybe not a ton of Super Bowls like a Brady or Mahomes right away or whatever, but I do believe that this young man, quarterback, I don't know if you looked at him a ton with JJ McCarthy, I think he has more than meets the eye. It took me a minute, when I was watching this film and trying to break it down as the draft went on. I was just like, why aren't these balls being picked off? And I was of the mindset for a moment, if he makes it to the NFL, these balls are going to get picked off. But then I realized, how is that possible? The statistics here, he's playing against the highest of high levels, and it's still not getting picked off. And these guys are, a lot of times they're ready. And then the consistency of wins. And he's not turning the ball over yet with all these risky throws. And that's when I realized that he had this crazy velocity. It just rips out of his hand like so fast. It's not that it's going to be like a in my opinion, not going to be like a Josh Allen 60 yards on a rope, but more like the Favre 40 yards on a rope, just boom, just
right.
breaking people's fingers out there.
No doubt. No, he's had a great high school career and college career, and I think it's kind of changed a little bit when you go to the pros a little bit, So, but he's still young. He's only 21. So hopefully, kind of what we were talking about earlier, hopefully they give him a chance to kind of grow and develop. Like it's just
that's what I want.
Preseason games are not the same as regular season games, and just kind of the way they play things. And
I want it almost at least like Mahomes, where it was at least you have to watch Alex Smith, and you know what I mean. You learn. I'm sure you learn a lot.
Yeah, no doubt. He's with a great coaching staff. They're proven. They got a lot of great players around him. A lot of great players. And then, but honestly, the other part is Sam Darnold. Like Sam's only 26, and Sam was, he went to when he went to the Jets. It probably wasn't a good situation. They throw him into the fire just a little bit too fast, and they've really been a mess now for a long, long time. So they're still trying to figure it out. Still.
I mean, they had to get one of the best in the business, and with Aaron Rodgers to try to help him out, and they knew it. And, when you're coming off 2-time MVP and that with his resume, you're getting the cream of the crop there. But it's like, can he even take them out of where they're at? But I believe they will. I mean, they're such a good team. They look awesome.
Yeah, no, they'll be better. But with Sam Darnold, he kind of got off to a rough start there. Then he actually went to Carolina, was 4-2 as a starter there. Then last year was in a great situation with San Fran. Just like he kind of probably learned more ball than he ever had last year under Shanahan, and then and he'll be ready for this opportunity too. So hopefully everyone's patient with him and not trying to go to JJ McCarthy too quick and just ride this thing out. They got plenty of time to play JJ, and Sam's a lot better than people think. And hopefully in a good situation here for the next few years. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping myself as well. little bit of time there, and I
Yeah.
believe that Sam's going to earn himself, whether it's with us or with someone else, a nice contract somewhere and stuff. I don't think he's disappeared from the league, like you said. I
Yeah.
think he's just developed, and it's
Yeah.
just taken a minute because it was rushed. It was rushed in the beginning, and a lot. I know a
Right.
lot of people, because I guess maybe I'll ask you because I don't even really know. Like they'll say like, oh, just have him be the clipboard holder. But what is it really that you're doing? You know, if you're that second sideline quarterback or over there on the learning on the other side, is it just that you're holding the clipboard, or are you actually talking to the quarterback too and in on all the plays and everything? Or
Yeah.
I guess I don't know what you do as a second string.
Yeah. Well, if you're a second string quarterback, like you're sitting on rock and rocking on go, like you're one play away from getting that opportunity. And a lot of times, you know, you may sit there and not play any. Then again, you may the second play of the season, you may be starting if
Right.
the starter gets hurt. So things happen, but usually, this in the course of the week, you don't get as many reps as a starter. He gets most of the reps. You'll get a little bit. Then you'll kind of run the scout team, but you're in meetings, walkthroughs, all the time, so you know exactly what's going on in the game plan. Except you're just not getting all the game reps and then not as many reps. But there's a lot of learning that takes place, especially for a young guy like JJ, just with all the different blitzes, different situations that come up. There's not as many possessions as there are in the pros as are in college. The pros, you have to throw the ball a little bit more. The games are always going to be tight, and just learning how to manage the game, manage situations, manage your team, and then be ready when the opportunity comes. So I know that'll happen for him, but you just don't want to be in a rush, but you got to
Right.
prepare yourself at the same time.
Yeah, and that's definitely what I want, and that's why I got this big dog's jersey behind me. I think this rookie's going to do some havoc too. I guess it'd be your worst nightmare. Huh? Looking at someone like Dallas Turner, or you guys
Yeah.
had some awesome edge rushers like in your day, uh, you know. But that's I think that's going to be another good position for the Vikings. I'm
Yep.
not sure if you got to look at him too much, but he looks like he's his wingspan and stuff, and his legs are just always chugging. He looks
Yeah.
like an animal, just a beast.
Yeah. No doubt. No doubt. It'll be fun to watch him play.
Well, I suppose I don't want to waste too much more of your time and everything. And like I said, honestly, this is my dream come true, getting to talk football with some of the football greats. And that's what we're going to be doing here on the show from now on, and on this particular show, instead of just spreading it out to a ton of millions of things. I guess I'll have to prove to TikTok there that I am who I am and all that stuff. And then if you don't mind, before we go, I do got a couple questions, I guess, from a couple
Yeah.
people from up north. And we'll see what they had to ask. Okay. What was playing for the London Monarchs, and what were some of your favorite memories in London in general? And that comes
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
a Regina up in the Northland. I won't give specifics and bomb everybody. I don't want to have someone
Yeah.
come to your house.
Yeah. No doubt. No, at the time, the World League, now they have what's called the XFL or USFL, those kind of things. And back when I played, it was called the World League. And the league was existing like 1989, and then it went away for 3 or 4 years. And in 1995, it came back. And so I asked to go play in that league because I'd been in Minnesota for 3 or 4 years and hadn't played any with Rich Gannon and Jim McMahon and Warren Moon. I was just backing them up. So I needed game reps to go play. And I loved it. I went over there to be the starter for 10 games, made a lot of plays, made a lot of mistakes. We played the teams in that league were Scotland, Amsterdam, Barcelona, Frankfurt, and Dusseldorf. And so it was a unique
So
experience
you
at
really
that time.
remember it.
Oh yeah, yeah. That was a big part of my journey. And so I got to call a lot of my own plays and learn what kind of worked, what didn't work. But Kurt Warner's went over there, and John Kidna went over there, Jay Fiedler went over there. But
Really?
as many quarterbacks that went over there, not many guys came back. And so it is beneficial for some, and some it wasn't beneficial. Some didn't play as well and kind of ended their careers. But for me, it gave me a chance to excel, and then got to see parts of the world that I never would. We lived in Crystal Palace, and then
Oh,
we played at White Hart Lane, and it was pretty awesome. I enjoyed my
I
time
suppose
playing
it's
in
a
London.
whole different environment and everything. And over there, that must have been really early in the cycle of introducing football over there. That must have been pretty new.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. Now, I mean, now they're obviously playing. They've been playing games in London for over a decade now. And then they're going now. They're playing in Brazil and they're playing in Mexico and Germany and playing everywhere. And eventually, I'm sure there'll be NFL teams all over the world. We've played preseason games in Tokyo. I did actually a couple of those, but in London at that time they didn't know much about football, and they would get when you say football, they're really talking about soccer, and when they'd cheer more at that time for when there were punts just to see how high the ball would go, like whoa, those kind of things. You know what I mean? But they've actually learned the game, and eventually there will be there'll be an NFL franchise in London at some point. So, but I did enjoy my time there.
Yeah, I know that they're trying to branch out and everything. And thanks for answering
Yeah.
that one. And that's a great question. Thank you, Regina, for that one. That's a really great question. Let's see here. Some of these we already answered. That's why I'm just reading. And making sure there's nothing obviously offensive or anything. One from Jason from
Facebook.
Okay, if you could send it to me, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah, I texted it to you.
Thank you so much. Sorry, that's my fiance. She does a lot of modding for me and everything. She's super cool.
There you go.
Question from, I guess we'll do one from Jason and one from Shar, and then that'll be it. For both of them, look like they're from Minnesota. Or no, one from Judy. It's Judy. Shar, sorry, not Shar. Judy wants to know what he thinks of this year's Vikings.
Yeah, I don't know the whole roster as a whole, but I know they've been a playoff team the last 4 or 5 years, like right on the cusp of doing it. And obviously you've had Kirk Cousins. Like when you think what Kirk has actually done stat wise and the touchdowns they've thrown, the yardage they've thrown, like they've been a powerhouse and just haven't gone that next level in the playoffs. And that's just kind of what we talked about, just being hot at the right time or just getting that right break. But it'll be interesting. A lot of it will be on Sam Darnold and JJ McCarthy potentially. So we'll see. But I love the organization, love the Wilfs as the ownership, head coach, awesome. And so it's a great setup, man. I'm pulling for them, no doubt about it.
Well, thank you so much. That's and I think that they're going to be, like you said, and Judy, I think that they're going to be a good team. I think that they always are. I don't think that they're ever really on that bottom ladder half, and that's why you don't ever get to see them picking that high.
But honestly, the division's tougher now. I mean, honestly, you got Green Bay and Detroit. They both made heavy playoff runs last year. Chicago, they won 7 or 8 games, and they got to figure out their quarterback situation. But they upgraded their talent. Jordan, and that's what we talked about. You kind of they gave Jordan Love time to grow, and I think he's in his 4th year last year and had a breakout year, just his first year starting. But he kind of got a chance to watch Aaron Rodgers, how to play and how to manage a team, an organization, how to grow up as a man,
right?
And especially as a quarterback, he's ready for his moment.
I think that helped, and I honestly, I think it helped the the ravenousness of us Minnesota fans of wanting to just get JJ out there. I think us seeing that and going, oh wait, that does work, because we did see how rough Jordan Love was his first year. His first couple of years, he's had to sub in a few times for Aaron, and it wasn't pretty. You know what I mean? The games we just dominated, and for the most part, and then you watch him come out now, and then you watch Jordan dominating, and it's just awesome to see for me. I mean, even though they're a rival, I think rivals make it the way it is, and so yeah. Right. And then lastly, from Jason, what was going through your head? No, wait, that was already there. Sorry. What was it like coming to Minnesota after the win in Tampa?
Yeah, great question. At that time, I was kind of getting older in my career. And so I really came there to be a backup. I came there to be a backup to Dante Culpepper. And he'd just been the MVP of co-MVPs with Peyton Manning the year before. Then that was the year we got off to a slow start. I think we were 2-5. He had a tear in his ACL, and so when I chose to come back, I'd played with Mike Tice before, so we were teammates, and then I knew the system. I wasn't going to have a big learning curve to come back. I'd been in that system for 7 years, and it was just an easy transition for me to go back. I enjoyed living in Minnesota. I enjoyed being a Viking. I knew the system. I knew my role was going to be a backup. But then Dante got hurt. Then I came in and got hot. I think we were 7-2 that year, and we just were, I think, just a one game shy of making the playoffs. So it's kind of a fun year for me when I came back, because I got to kind of call a lot of my own plays and have some input on some things, just because I was an older quarterback. And then the next year, Brad Childress came in, and then that was my last year, Minnesota, and I left to go be with Dallas. But I enjoyed coming back. It was different, but I enjoyed it though.
That's got to be better. Like you said, like different. Like that's got to be a lot less stressful coming in as like a veteran like that. Like able to talk to the coaches more like eye to eye, as opposed to just from a peer like learning and underneath perspective, but more as almost a coworker, or I guess it would almost be
the first year I came back. Yeah, no doubt. The first year I came back, I had that leeway with Mike Tice, and we brought in Jerry Rome, Steve Loney was there, the coordinator, and so I had some say so as far as audibles and plays and checks and kind of what I liked, what I didn't like, those kind of things. And so it was a fun time for me that first year coming back.
That's cool. I'm really glad, man. I'm really glad. And hopefully we can have you on after I get this thing fixed up again, and we can crank it up and do some other stuff and everything. And you guys can always find him. It's Big Bad Brad. You know what I mean? Is what he goes by, because he's the biggest, baddest dude you ever did meet. And he's always got something cool to say on, whether you want to call it Twitter or X. I know we're kind of streaming this out on multiple platforms here, and one of them being Facebook. Facebook, guys, get on over to Twitter. Go follow him up on Twitter. I want to see those numbers rise. I want to see it. I want to see it go up. Like I said, even on the account that's not there for TikTok, in case you ever want to come back, I want to make that impact. So you guys make sure you make the extra effort and go follow Brad, because like I said, for me, I got to pinch myself. This is also a dream come true, but I'm sure there'll be plenty more to come for all of you guys as we keep moving along. And thank you again, Brad, so much. And thank you for your time and everything like that. I really appreciate it. As a fan, as a friend, as someone that just even looks up to you as a parent and everything. I'll be cheering for your kids, man. And let's go.
All right, man.
North Dakota now, right? You said?
Yeah. Huh?
North Dakota now, you said, right? For your kids, for the college program to cheer for now? North Carolina. So North
both
Carolina.
My boys played in North Carolina. But yeah, and I appreciate you having me on the show, and appreciate all those that have kept up with my career. And but you'll find me on Twitter and stuff. It's Brad_Johnson_14, and usually make a lot of trick shots, so you'll see a lot of fun stuff out there.
It's great, man. I like it. It makes me more positive. The more positive stuff I see, and the energy that you still have at your age and stuff. Like I'm not calling you old. Don't beat me up or nothing. No but I'm 37, and I feel like I wake up and I'm waking up all early, and I'm still always tired, and even no matter what, sleep or whatever. And so when I see her, woo, kind of all of a sudden I'm like, all right, I could do that too.
No doubt. So it's a lot of fun out there. Very good. I appreciate it, brother. Thank you, man.
Have a good night.
I'll see you guys.
See you later. How do I don't even know that.